Welcome to Honest Car Reviews and say hi to the Toyota bZ4X, another newcomer in the mid-size electric car segment. And in this review I'm going to do a deep dive in the first electric car from Toyota. The Toyota bZ4X is quite unique because just look at the engine. You can actually see the electric engine. In a Tesla there will be a frunk, but not here. They are showing absolutely everything. This is the front wheel drive only long range version, which means about 200 horsepower. There is the four wheel drive option as well, which has an engine in the back, but that has only a marginal horsepower increase. Of course we'll get down to the specs later on with the range and battery and all of that, but just look at how Toyota's designed it, like an ordinary car. And that theme I'll talk about further on. Let's talk design. This is from the ground up new base platform, but the bZ4X shares the platform with the new Lexus electric car. This looks more premium, and that's a good reason because an electric car costs more than the petrol equivalent. With this extra option, gray paint, the dark colors on the sides here as well, it gives it a quite striking exterior. But don't forget, this is also a Toyota. It should not be too much. And we'll talk about being too much in the back. People have become desensitized. This might look quite ordinary. It looks almost like a RAV4 from the back with this quite wedge-shaped design. But look at the size of this design. Very special, very different. You have this darker plastic piece, and underneath it is more or less flat for better aerodynamic. But look at this basically two-part spoiler kind of thing. These are there to improve airflow, and then you have a very aggressive angle on the rear windscreen, and it does not have a wiper, and we'll talk about that when we drive the car because it has actually been an issue. Let's talk size, design and competitors. So this is just slightly bigger than the RAV4. It looks kind of similar to the RAV4, but also to the new CHR. This is a mid-sized electric SUV slash crossover, or SUV, CUV. And it competes with, for example, the Volkswagen ID.4, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6, even the Tesla Model Y. So those are the competitors. But what are the specs of this car? Let's talk specs then. So the battery has a size of 64 kilowatt hour. Base price of just under 500,000 Swedish kronor, which is around 42,700 euro. So those are the basic specs. But the charging, 150 kilowatt of peak charging speed. So this car is slightly underneath some of the competitors, but it is also a little bit cheaper. The Toyota bZ4X is slightly smaller than the competitors, and you do see that in the rear storage compartment. Around 450 liters of storage space, but it is very wide. And I do like that because you can fit golf clubs, things that are long, without having to fold down the rear seats. Luckily, the loading lip is completely flat, and you can fold down the rear seat in the standard Toyota manner very easily. One thing that car manufacturers nowadays have problems with, it is the rear seats. They become an afterthought, and that is especially obvious in electric cars where you have batteries underneath your feet, which means that the amount of lower side support you have is basically non-existent. My knees are very high up. Luckily, the bench, the angle is quite angled backwards, so the seating position is not too bad. I do have some foot space, but it is fairly cramped in here. Luckily, I do have enough headspace for me being 187. A classic for Toyota though is very dark interiors. You can spec it out in a lighter shade, but the amount of piano black plastic you have here is nothing to laugh about. They will scratch quickly and look quite bad after a few years of use. Welcome to the spacecraft. And what do I mean by that? Well, look at the interior. The digital gauge cluster is so far forward. This very uniquely designed steering wheel and the dash of itself. Definitely one of a kind. Do I like it? Maybe, maybe not, but it looks cool. And everything is very well thought out and designed. A lot of buttons. The infotainment system reminds me a lot of the Lexus infotainment system, and here we might have some cross-pollination of the Lexus electric car and the Toyota bZ4X. The car, or the interior, is quite well thought out. You have some storage space underneath here with some USB-C plugs, an armrest with some extra storage space, 2 cup holders, wireless charging pad, the quite standout infotainment screen and the system, and buttons to control the temperature, and the steering heated seats as well. Everything works, everything is there where you should find them. How does it feel to drive Toyota's first electric car? Well, we'll start in the city, in some suburbs. What surprised me the most is the fact that the suspension just feels very, very, very soft. Not the way an ordinary electric car often feels like, which is a good thing. And this is a car that will not be pushed. It does not need to be stiff. I don't know if you can see, but the steering wheel is quite far down, and that is because if I have it in the regular position that I often have my steering wheels at, it will cover basically the entire digital gauge cluster, meaning I would not be able to see my speed, my range, my fuel consumption, basically nothing. Of course, you're paying a premium for the luxury of having an electric car, but it does feel like a more upscale product. There are other electric cars on the market that feels not as luxurious, not as upmarket as this Toyota bZ4X. It's quiet, it's refined, the gas pedal response is soft, it's smooth, it's well calibrated, and so is the braking pedal. Many people complain that it's too soft. I feel it's just the right amount of soft. Service weight is about 2 tons. That is of course because of a heavy battery, but the battery is a bit smaller than the competition. This is 64 kilowatt hour, and compared to the competition, which is over 70, almost close to 80, they are of course a little bit more expensive as well. But in the size category, many people are looking for that extra range, that extra charging capacity. And when it's that cutthroat, and for Toyota to come with a product that late, the extra time that a company has to develop their product, it means that they need to come with a product that is better. And in many ways I love this product, but it often comes down to the hard specs of range, size, price. If everything around it is decent enough, then you're basically happy as a customer. I'm thinking about the customer that will buy this car. Is it the regular Toyota customer that has just waited to get an electric Toyota, or is it a first timer that wants to dip their toes into the electric car market, or thinking of going from one electric car manufacturer to another? I think that's quite an open question, that time will tell. But it's evident that there's been a need for an electric Toyota, and Toyota's now delivered that for us. The cruise control is control on the right side, everything regarding the volume, navigating the digital gauge cluster is on the left side. Decent enough, but everything is moved a bit inwards, and then everything is designed vertically. So I have to move my entire hand to reach the cruise control settings. It's not just move a little thumb. My thumbs are basically not long enough. Should also mention the different driving aids. That's one of them, because I was actually drifting a little bit to the right in my lane. And the safety features are many, especially if I look a bit here, it starts to warn me that I'm not paying attention to the road. So if I'm looking here, for example, it will also start to warn. Quite a safety feature, but it can become quite annoying. Luckily, you can cancel it when you go through the sub menus. This is Toyota's first electric car, and I didn't really know what I was expecting. An electric car is more expensive than a petrol alternative, and a Toyota is supposed to be affordable but delivering quality and longevity. It's late to the market in an incredibly cutthroat electric car segment, the mid-size SUV segment. Basically every single car manufacturer offers a model in this segment, and Toyota is late to the party. There's no question about it, which means that it needs to do so much. What are my conclusions for the Toyota bZ4X? Well, it's a bit late to the party. It has a shorter range than the competitors, a smaller footprint, but also a lesser price. The soft points are amazing on this car. It's a fantastically engineered car. The lack of rear windscreen wiper is something that I really question, but other than that, it's a fantastic car. First electric car from Toyota. This is of course also the updated car, and they have ironed out a lot of the complaints that many people had. That's my final conclusion for the Toyota bZ4X.